Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to introduce you to my two fur babies. They are my family members, and I thought I'd introduce you to how they came into our lives, where they're from, where we got them. Just give you an introduction to who they are. Before we get started, I want to apologize for the sporadic uploading. I'm still currently in university, and until that is all finished, my studies and assignments take priority. Deadlines are always close to one another. There's never a break in between. So I finish in May, so hopefully by the time I'm finished, I can start uploading more regularly. And my cat just left the room. You don't know how long it took me to get them both in one room, in one spot, because either this one's barking at something outside the window or she's leaving. But anyway, also don't forget to like and subscribe and to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to turn on the bell notification so you know when I upload. Thank you so much. Let's get into the video. You're gonna sit there now, aren't you? Clawing at my window because she wants to sit on top of the window ledge, she'd be crazy. The other is laying right here. She's just chilling. So yeah, let's get started. So I want to introduce you to my babies, my fur babies. I'm going to give you a little bit about their backgrounds, how they came to be with us, a little bit of history, their ages, their names. Normally you do a get to know me video first, but I thought I wanted to do a get to know my babies first because they mean more to me than myself. So they are much more important than me. So we'll start off with hey! We'll start off with Pudding, who's currently just looking out the window. She is our tabby. A little bit of a backstory behind her. Yes, her name is Pudding. A lot of people find that really weird. I don't really know why. She kind of looks like a pudding, different colours. Dessert can have different colours. Anyway, so either that or I would have called her Milkshake, so I think Pudding was better for her. It took me forever to get them in one room, and she's a paid actress and she's still not doing what I've paid her to do. So some of you might know, my family and I are from South Africa. Pudding came with us from South Africa. She's now sitting on my couch, and she was 1 year old when we actually moved to the UK. We had two other dogs that we adopted around about the same time, and we had another dog who was my mom's dog, and she was 17 years old at the time. When my folks decided it was time to move to England because South Africa was becoming a problem, it was becoming unsafe, and if you know what South Africa is like right now, you'll know it's really unsafe. And they were doing it for the right reasons, for their children, to give their children better prospects in life, better education, safety, so on and so forth. So a little bit of a backstory about what happened to my three dogs. I will insert pictures of them. They are also they were the loves of my life. Any animal that has come into my life, any pet, fur baby that has come into our lives, they have meant so much to me. It broke my heart when we made the decision to leave three of them behind. We were originally going to give all the dogs and Pudding away to a lovely home, but unfortunately nobody wanted to adopt an older cat, and by this point Pudding was 1 year old and she was a fully grown cat. People wanted kittens, not a fully grown cat. Before I get comments saying, why did you leave three dogs behind, that's so cruel, there's lots of factors as to why we couldn't bring them with, and all of them had to do with their well-being. As much as it hurt us and pained us to leave them behind, it was all for their benefit. And of course we wish we could have brought them with. There's nothing I would have loved more than to have had all four animals together, just have our whole family together. But there was nothing we could do about that. Unfortunately, we were in a circumstance with lots of factors that didn't allow us to be able to do that. At the time when we were going to move, Pudding was 1 year old, Hannah and Dusty were both 1 year old, Snowy was 17, Snowy was a little white poodle, Hannah was a Shao Pei, the most beautiful little Shao Pei. She was the only girl in at the RSPCA, because we adopted all of them from the RSPCA in South Africa, and she was the only girl left in amongst a bunch of boys. She was right at the back. She did not come near us. I think she knew that the boys would she thought that the boys would get picked first. But I saw her and I wanted her, so we got her. Dusty was already a little bit older than Hannah at the time. Dusty was a German Shepherd mixed with a Husky. Lovely dog. We named her Dusty because she kind of looked dusty. She was like white and grey. That was my brother's dog. Hannah was my dog. And when we decided, we'd had them for a year, and then things were starting to get very bad in South Africa. So my mom and dad decided, my brother and I, we were born in South Africa. My mom was born in South Africa. My dad was born here but moved to South Africa when he was about 2 years old. It was hard to move and to give up everything. In South Africa we had a large house with 2 football pitches worth of land that the dogs could run around in. It was warm. It was just wonderful having warm weather 9 months out of the year. So yeah, we had a good life in South Africa. And moving, we knew we were giving up a lot. We were giving up the weather, we were giving up our home, our lifestyle, our culture. Not so much giving up the culture, but leaving it behind to come into a new culture, and that was a big shock. You know, you're coming into a country where you're speaking English, but it's not the same English. I know that sounds really stupid, but if you've ever moved countries, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're moving from, I don't know, New Zealand to England, you will understand that despite the English speaking English, it's not quite the same, and the culture will be different. So it was a big shock for us. At that point, my mom and dad had come out to the UK to look around, pick a school for my brother and I, and just find a house to rent, because there was no way we were going to be able to purchase a house here. It was going to take a while for us to build up everything again, and it took at least 10 years to really get to a point where we were stable enough. And we've lived in the UK for about 14 years now. Anyway, so ideally we wanted to bring the dogs, but there was no way that we were going to be able to, because at the time we were paying for my mom to get her British passport, as well as get her into the country, as well as pay for all of us to come to the country. We decided we weren't going to bring anything with us, meaning furniture and stuff. I think we brought 1 bed with us. My mom and dad brought their bed with them. But other than that, we brought no couches, and we brought a dining room table and clothes and stuff like that. But other than that, we didn't bring any big furniture. We gave either a lot of it away or we sold it. And then we found out that the UK at the time required people from different countries that wanted to bring pets in had to quarantine for up to 6 months. Now, to me, that is very cruel, because animals were going to be spending 6 months in cages. There's Pudding. And that's really silly, if I'm honest, because all countries have vets. You get your pets vaccinated. It's not going to make a difference if you're coming from a different country. But anyway, when my mom and dad went to see the quarantine place, because at this point we knew that we were going to have to make a decision on all the animals. My mom and dad had already decided we were going to give them away to a family, all 3 dogs, but nobody wanted the cat. So we made the decision to bring the cat with us. I will say it was the best decision on the planet to bring her with. Just look at her. She just sits in front of me. When my mom and dad went to see the quarantine place, the dogs that were already quarantining were beside themselves. You know, dogs imprint on their owners. They need their family members around with them. We are all that they have. Cats are a little bit different. They can handle being alone. They do their own thing. They sleep most of the time. As long as they're getting fed and maybe a few pets, they're happy. But we knew we couldn't do that to the dogs. It just wouldn't have been fair. Alongside that, when we moved, we lived in a house that was probably the size of my bedroom, maybe a little bit bigger, but it was tiny. And the garden, it didn't really have a garden. There was no way that we were going to have 2 big dogs as well as a little dog that she was old. And if I'm honest, we've even said that she probably would have died on the plane ride here. You know, being 17 years old, even if she hadn't had died on the plane, because it's a 12-hour flight, she most likely would have passed away in quarantine, knowing full well that we weren't there, because we sent Pudding a month early, and if we had brought the dogs with, we probably would have done that as well. And I feel like even if she hadn't passed away on the plane, she would have passed away in quarantine. And that would have broken, I mean, it broke our hearts in any case, leaving them behind. I still remember my dog Hannah, she had, we took her to a house and we settled her in. It was with someone that my mom, she was a client of my mom's, and as we were leaving, I saw her look at them through their gate, and it's like you're leaving your child behind. Well, to me, it felt like that. To me, they are my children, and I still have that picture in my mind, and it still breaks my heart to this day, thinking about that we had to leave them behind. But now I know it was for the better, it was for the best. And also, none of our dogs were trained to go out walking, whereas she is. In the UK, you walk your dogs here because the gardens aren't big enough. Yards, gardens, however you like to say it. So the dogs would have had to been walked, and they were not used to that. They had space to run around and chase each other and play with each other all the time. As well as my parents trying to deal with having 2 kids that needed to go to school, settle in. So Hannah unfortunately didn't get on with the other lady's dog, and so we had to go and pick her up, and of course I was ecstatic because I got to see my dog again. And then that same day, because Dusty and Snowy went to this other house with this lady who had a big farm and lots of other dogs. I don't remember why we didn't choose to put them all together at that first point, but anyway, we took Hannah and we gave her to the same family that we gave Dusty and Snowy to. So it gave a little bit more comfort that they were together at least. You know, they were siblings, so it was nice to know that they were together. Obviously now I think that they have probably passed. You know, it's been 14 years, they most likely have passed away. And if not, I know Snowy would have, because she was 17 at the time. I don't think my family and I will ever forgive ourselves for leaving them behind. It's not something that we would have wanted, but it's something we had to do. And also at the time, there's no way we would have been able to afford to buy a house, rent, look after 3 dogs, because insurance and vet bills here are so expensive. So expensive. I mean, they're worth it, but very expensive. Anyway, nobody wanted to take in Pudding, so we decided to take her with us. We sent her a month early, and when we got to the UK, we finally went and saw her, and she completely forgot who we were. They say that cats have a 3-week memory. Now, I don't know how true this is. This was one of the ladies that were part of the quarantine centre told us this, but I can kind of believe it because she had no idea who we were. We got there and she came out and she sort of looked at us and she didn't really want us to touch her. She had no clue who we were, and that was also heartbreaking. It was also quite nice because we got to see other cats in their cages, but it still broke my heart seeing all these dogs cry all day for their owners for 6 months. After a while, we would go and see her almost every day when we could, and then she got around. She sort of knew that these people were my people, like obviously I know them. She eventually came around, and after 6 months we could finally bring her home. Yes. So yes, that is Pudding. She is 15 years old. She did save our lives, she really did. She brought a little bit of light to our... Oh, my mom's just got home.
Hi, Editing Megan here. I've realised I never actually finished my sentence. What I wanted to say is Pudding brought a lot of joy and happiness to our lives during a time when things were very bleak, particularly when we were trying to build our lives back up. She was a little bit of joy and happiness in our lives.
Pudding decided to take a little walk, so I think that's around about this time where you should talk about my absolute little pride and joy, my little baby. This is Penny. She is currently cuddled up in a blankie. She is named after Penny from Big Bang Theory. We hadn't had a dog for about almost 8 years up to that point. We didn't feel like we deserved to have another dog because of having to leave 3 behind. But you know, at this point we had finally bought a house, we were comfortable, we had enough stability to be able to take care of a dog. We were ready. We were ready to... It was just an idea. It wasn't even solidified that we were actually going to get one. My dad was quite against it at first. They're always against it, aren't they? And then they automatically fall in love with the little thing. Yeah, it was just an idea at this point, and My mom had been looking online one day, we had looked to adopt beforehand, but in the UK it's not just straightforward, show up to a dog shelter, an animal shelter, and say we want to adopt, we adopt, and they come to the house to look at the house to see what it's like, if it's suitable for them. No. You have to book an appointment, and this is pre-COVID. You have to book an appointment to go and pick the fur baby that you want to take home with you, and then for 6 months you have to go and spend time with that animal. They can see if you are compatible with the fur baby. My big issue with that is, I think any animal would just be happy to be out of a cage and in a warm home. It's fine if you disagree, but to me, every time we've gotten animals from the shelter, they've just been super happy to be out of a cage and in an environment where they've got people all the time. It's just my opinion. And we just felt it wasn't going to work because none of us would have time to go and see the animal, and obviously they would have to come and evaluate the house, which was completely fine. The house would have been fine. We've got a big enough yard for a little dog, big enough house for a little dog, even for a big dog, but we were specifically looking for a little one. So yeah, that just wasn't going to work. My mom and dad wouldn't be able to, my dad specifically wouldn't have been able to take time off because he was a pilot at the time. He's retired now, and there was just no way he was going to be able to get time off to go and visit the animal. My mom also, and I was busy at college and I wouldn't have had time. I was dancing 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week for when it was during show time. So it just wasn't viable for us. My mom was just browsing online to see what was out there, and we hadn't really discussed on what type of dog we would get. It was sort of just if one jumps out at us, great. And again, it was still not an idea that it wasn't a solidified idea that we were going to get a dog. But then my mom saw a little picture of her, and I'll post that I'll put a little picture up of her when she was a puppy, and you'll get the idea as to why we were drawn to her. So my mom texted the owner and said, "Hi, is she still available?" And the owner said, "She is, you can come and have a look at her, but just to let you know, she has already been claimed. The money hadn't been transferred over yet, but the puppy had been claimed by another person." But so my mom and dad, they went. I was at college. They went and they had a look around to see the parents, and so yeah, at this point they hadn't decided on fully getting a dog, but it was more of a case of let's just go and see the parents, see what they're like, see their temperament, have a look at her. And my mom just described the mom and dad being definitely part Jack Russell, but also part Chihuahua. At this point, my mom and dad were in love. They wanted to bring her home, but of course she had been bidded on. And when my mom and dad got to the house, we didn't know at the time that the people that were selling her, backyard breeders, obviously that's not something that you can see online. We just saw a little picture of her and thought, okay. Normally we wouldn't, buy a dog. We always go to a shelter. But anyways, she's definitely not full Jack. Many people have said she's not very, she doesn't cling to one person, which apparently is quite a big Jack Russell trait. She's mingled with everybody in the house. She'll come and see what I'm doing. She might go and see what my mom is doing, see what my dad's doing. She'll just wander around the house and see who's around and who wants a cuddle. So they got back and they said she's not available. So we sort of put that at ease. Our minds were sort of, okay, that's fine. If it wasn't meant to be, so. But my dad had an intuition feeling that she was going to be our dog. And a few days later, my mom got a text saying, "Do you still want the puppy? Because the other lady has pulled out, and if we want her, we can come and get her today." So my mom and dad said, "Yes, we'll come and get her." Now I was at college at this point. I was dancing. I remember this day clearly. Like, it was a terrible day. I'd had a really, really shit day. I got home and unbeknownst to me, my parents had gone to pick up the puppy, brought her home. Actually, at this point, she was only 6 weeks. She wasn't 8 weeks. She wasn't the legal age to be sold. But actually, it was better because she had worms. She needed deworming and she smelled of cigarette smoke. So she needed a good clean and stuff. So it was a good thing that she got to us a little bit earlier. It also meant that we could train her quickly and early because you know as puppies they can be trained quickly. They're like sponges. So yes, so I got home and I walked through the door and I wanted to burst into tears. The kitchen door was closed and nobody had told me, so my mum just opened the kitchen door and this little face just peered out of the door, and oh my gosh, as soon as I saw her little face and how small she was, and yeah, no, that was the moment I fell in love. Like I love animals, all animals, and this was just, she was just perfect in absolutely every word, just absolutely perfect. Still is. She's my absolute love of my life. To say that she fixed our family would be, not fixed our family, but brought a different type of energy to the house, because you know for 7 years to that point it was, we were all still not quite in ourselves. She brought all of us out of our rut, and generally that's what pets do, what family members do. They bring you out of your shell of depression when you need it the most. But then in 2016 we got little Fluffball, and she just, I want to say she fixed everything. She really did, she fixed everything. So yes, and she is now 6 years old. I see you listening to me. You can see she runs the house. They both do. They are just, we are their butlers basically. They own the house and we are their butlers. She gets whatever she wants because she's my baby. But of course, I still think about when we gave up, when we had to give up 3 dogs that would have loved to have stuck around and been with us through the thick and thin, but it just wouldn't have been fair on them. It really wouldn't have. And I still picture my dog Hannah's face when we left her at this other house. I don't think there's ever going to be a time when I don't think about that. There was no way that they would have survived in 6 months of quarantine inside of this cage. I mean, the cage was probably about the size of my bedroom, maybe twice the size, but still they don't get to see their family. Dogs, they imprint on you and they need you in their life. You are their pack. You become their family. And that was something that we noticed when we went to visit Pudding. The dogs were going ballistic. They were, because they didn't know what was happening, and that they would bark and bark and bark. It'll forever break my heart that we didn't bring them with. We made the right decision for them, giving them to a family that we know for sure would have looked after them. They had lots of land to run around in, and they were all together. That was a big thing. They were all together. So yeah, that is my story of my babies, my fur babies. Hey. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different to the chaos videos that I've been doing, you know, the Valencia trip, road trip up to Skegness, but I thought I'd just do something a little bit more chilled out, sit in my bed, talk about my fur babies. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm going to chill for the day because it is windy AF outside and it's kind of cold. It's sunny outside. It may look warm. It is very deceiving. So I'm going to chill in bed, watch some Big Bang Theory, chill with my baby, and possibly do some uni work. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm certainly going to have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys! Say bye!